Hello, welcome. I've just noticed that the kerning on the font on the opening slide or the holding page is terrible. So I'll try and change the font for next week. But otherwise, I'm just going to get straight into it today. So last week I was adding a new command to plan an episode. And it basically picks a cast and then it stores details of the episode in an episodes file. So I had to do a lot of sort of setup work of adding storage to it, creating the episode itself, like data structure for it, making it marshallable and unmarshallable, so we could add it into the file. And that's all cool, and it'll generate a new episode for me, but it doesn't tell me any details about the episode. So a few things for today. I want to do the show command. Show would be appropriate, I think. So it'll just load the episode file and display it if there's something in there. And then when that's done, I want to look at doing this replacement thing, so we can take a member of the episode and replace them, and it will pick an appropriate other person to put in there. So that's the plan. Just going to have a quick look. So we do have some data in here at the moment. I think if I run it again and say plan, it should replace it, but it might just add to it. Let's find out. It just adds to it. Okay, so that's not really what we want. That shortcut doesn't work in this shell because it's obviously binding something else in VS Code. We just truncate the file anyway. Okay, so let's start with, I guess, a few things. Let's start with showing, and maybe just at the end of new, I will print out the cast. So we've picked a cast, and we have a cast. So I could just say the cast, I think, is going to actually think about it. Sorry, in main, I already have a pretty printer for the cast. So I'm going to somewhere I thought I had a pretty printer. ppcast, wherever this is. So this is in the cast file itself. Which one is this? Cast. Okay, cool. So I can just use this to pretty print it at the end. I might rename this. I'm going to rename this to just call it pretty. So we can call cast.pretty. I'll need to do it up here as well. So that should be pretty. Save that. Stop it. And back in main, this is no longer ppcast. This should be pretty. And I'll need to fix the import of that. So here it can be pretty. Hopefully, without passing in episodes, this should just work. Print out the cast as before. Yep, it does that. That's the pretty printing. So now what I can do is I can go to episodes in here, and I could just say cast.pretty, and then pass in the cast. So at the very least, we'll print out the cast that we've just picked. So if I say episodes new, my HLS is not running. Will it restart? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so cast.pretty. How will it be qualified? So import qualified cast. That's cast. Redundant as, so that. And it's actually cast.cast. Sorry, as cast. Okay, and there is no IO in this. So I'd say something like, oh, it's already an app, actually. I think app already has lift.io. I'm going to say lift.io and then tio.putstrelin. This is where I find out that pretty, oh, it does return text. Okay, that's okay. Right, so can we import this? Import that, but qualified. Does that work? Nope. And then lift.io I'll need to import as well. Control mono.io, probably, I think that's the one I've been using. Okay, give that a go again. Cool, okay, so you ask it to plan an episode and it prints out the cast, which is better than not telling you anything, I guess. Okay, next thing is I actually want you to do not just putting it into the file, but truncating the file. Okay, so truncating the file we don't really have anything for at the moment. We look at the storage interface. We've got load, add, remove. I'm going to put truncate onto this interface, which is going to mean a lot of updating in a lot of different places. We did a data type. We need to know what we're truncating. We don't have an A. We have an X when it runs under IO. So we need to know the type of thing we're truncating. So we'll truncate, in this case, episodes. We'll pass in a value of X. So this will be the storage itself, so either file storage or our mock storage. And it'll run under IO. So that should create a few problems. We go to file storage. I'll need to add truncate into here. And then truncate, I'll need to define somewhere. So we go add and remove. I'll just do truncate. So it doesn't take any kind of storable thing. It takes a data type, sign scope, s.datatype. It takes file storage, and it runs under IO. So truncate of s.host. Yeah, I think it'll be that. And some storage. Oops, sorry, some file storage. We will want to run something to truncate a file. What have we got? What am I importing in here? I've got file path directory. Okay, let me find Google because it might be quicker to look it up. So I want something that takes a file path and just does nothing. I'll run something, but I could remove the file. I can touch it. There's no built-in truncate that I can see. But I could open it and I could write to it. So we can go file path. Now, so write file. Write a string is truncated to 0 length before writing begins. So I could just call write file with the file path and empty text, I think. So that was, oops, right file was going to be somewhere. File path, so that's fs.host file. And the content will just be empty. Okay. Why is this ambiguous? Could return to refer to prelude.truncate. What is that? It truncates an integer. Okay, it's not what I want. Prelude hiding truncate. So down in here. Okay, cool. That's what I was hoping for. So you try this for every instance. So s dot. Let me just copy them. So I'll drop those in there. This is truncate. We don't have an X. Go to equals, go to the next word. Grab that, and this is going to be write file. And host file, and then if we go to the end of line, just empty string. Okay, so that should be the implementation of truncate for file storage. And now we have our mock storage. Where is that? It's somewhere in the tests. Here, mock storage. Okay. So let's say truncate is undefined. I'll grab that because I'm not using it yet. Okay, so do we compile? Actually, I don't. Do we have a shell open? There we go. It's going to episodes new. It'll create duplicates if it compiles. Okay, so I have a look in here. We've got multiple entries inside here. Okay, so I could write a spec for it. So we got host spec. We could also add episode spec, and I could say call add twice and make sure there's only one set of, or make sure truncate is called. Yeah, let's try and write that because that might be quite interesting to write. Episode spec. No, okay. And write squal file. And here we got host spec and episode spec. Okay, and this only exports spec. And spec is of type spec. And then we can say describe add called multiple times. And then it truncates the file. Before adding hosts, adding the episode. That's what I want to end up with. And it should be able to import this. It's probably bit spec. And then here we'll say so what I want to do is create my mock storage. Oops. But I'm going to have a different mock storage in here. So load will just make undefined for a second. Save that, and then we'll fix all these errors. Okay, so we have a mock storage. What I'm thinking of is we could just store a list of text in here. Maybe use new type instead of data. Oh, it doesn't do it for me. Okay. New type. So I'll actually say commands of type text. So what I'm thinking of doing is just when you call things, it will put it into the mock storage, and that's not going to work because you can't modify in place. So what I'd need to do is have some kind of Tbar, I guess, something like that should be fine, and then just store the list of commands inside there. And because we're running under IO, so I can modify Tbar, and I can just store the commands. I can run add, and I can check that it called add, and then truncate, and then add. I think that should work. But I can't really use Tbars. So let's connect that up. Tbar, oh, Tbar is the thing I want. So new Tbar, giving it, oh, new Tbar IO, sorry. I think. There's no reason why we couldn't just get an STM Tbar back. Yes, there is, because I'm not running under this monad. Okay, so new Tbar IO. Where do we create spec? Oh, we don't create yet. Okay. So we can again say commands, but this is now Tbar list of text. Is that right? So Tbar should take, yep. Tbar takes another type. Okay, so we should be able to import this. Do I want Tbar or do I want mvar? Actually, because it doesn't need to be atomic. That's what mvar was. I thought Tbar was the non-thread safe version. Share memory location supports atomic memory transactions. I think that's probably what I want. Okay, so I'll pull this in. Right. So when we call load, and it's going to have the data type we don't care about, the storage we do care about, and at the end we want to return nothing, just an empty list in this case. But what we should do is say whatever that command was. Is there a modified Tvar? Write Tvar? No. There's no modify. Okay, so I have to read and write it. I think. Yeah. So I call write Tvar. I need to get it first. So we can say the list of stuff, existing list, commands, I guess, is read Tvar. And then we can say commands from unlock storage. Then we write the Tvar. So again, we write to command mock storage, and we're going to write the value of we just push onto the head of it, I guess. Doesn't really matter which way around we do it. So we can push load onto that. Then we return nothing. Okay, what's it saying? Why is that not working? Do I have to do that in the other file? I did. Okay, let's pull in that. Read Tvar is not in scope. Maybe I will. I was going to alias the import, but actually because it's got Tvar in the name, it's not worth aliasing it. List.io, lift.io. Nope. That did not work. We shouldn't need lift.io anyway because we're running under this IO. Read Tvar IO, sorry. I think. That one seems to accept it. Right, Tvar IO. No, not a thing. No, not that one. Is there a right Tvar IO? Okay. I think I can then use atomically, because we're running an IO, and it will take an STM action and run it for me. So I could say atomically do and then these things. So do that, and then that. Okay, and then we can get rid of unused imports. Right. I might pull this out into a helper. In fact, PureCS doesn't need to enter atomically. So I could have a helper called StoreCommand, which takes mock storage and the command like some text, and it'll run under IO and StoreCommand will be, so we have our mock storage and we have the command, and what we're going to do is say atomically do CS. I just copy these actually, it'd be easier. It's not load now, it's C. Okay, and then here I should be able to say StoreCommand load. Not quite. StoreCommand ms load. Okay, then I can ditch the do, because I can then just do that. I think. Okay. And then add, the point of doing this was that I could then say, ignoring the data type, ignoring the thing we're adding, given the mock storage, we can just say StoreCommand ms add, remove, ignoring the type, ignoring the thing we're removing, grabbing the storage, we say StoreCommand ms remove, and Truncate has got a data type and storage, and it calls Truncate. Okay. So now that we have this, we can create storage isn't what we want. So we're going to say our commands I think we can say let commands equal new Tbar IO, and we just give an empty list, I think. So we have our commands, and then we can say let storage, we call it S. So this is going to be mock storage commands. This is Tbar IO text, list of text. No, what was it? Just Tbar list text, sorry. Not the IO. Okay. It needs to actually run it, not just define it. Okay. So we get our commands, we create our storage. Oops, this is the episode spec, so we do actually want to run reader T of something like add hosts. Add episode, sorry. And then let's get rid of some of these. So we will import that. We will import this. Okay, add needs to come from episode commands. So we call run. Hang on, what did we call before? In the host spec, we called load hosts. Oh, which is from storage. Okay, that's not quite. Maybe it is actually. Maybe that's where we want to look. That's where we want to test. So we won't call we won't call the whole application stack. We'll just test the storage bit of this. So in this case, we do want to call add, but it's going to come from the episode storage. Do we have it? And it's called new. Okay. I'm going to qualify that. So can we import episode storage qualified? No. What did it do? We did that as ES. And the type of this is M has got the storage inside it, so it needs to take something inside here, and that's an episode. So let E equal episode, and what's that got in it? Can we import that? We don't want S to episode. No, we want episode to episode. Import episode dot episode. It's a lot of episode. Episodes, maybe? Yes. Okay, so I can now create a new episode, and it wants a cast. So we need to import this. And cast has got a host and a list of participants. So the host could be Bippy, and the participants could be Boppy and Puppy. Okay. So now we can run this. So we can run our new episode, and now we don't care about H. In fact, we don't actually care what comes back from this. So we could just call this exec reader T. Nope. There's an equivalent for run reader T where it doesn't give you a result back. You just chuck away the result. I can't remember what it is. Run reader T. I thought there was an equivalent of this which would ignore the result, but I can't see it. Maybe that's just for state. Maybe I'm getting confused. Okay, so we run our reader, and then what we want to do is check commands. So is this safe to do? We want to, I don't know if we can use like this or we need to load it again, but let's find out. So it should be not load, add truncate and add. Now the order is reversed, but it doesn't matter because it's balanced. Okay, so let me say something like actual commands is read Tbar IO commands, and then this can become actual commands, and I can import this. Okay, the cast is actually host to Bippy, and these are participants. Can I import this? And this one. Okay, I have a spec. So my spec says, essentially, sets themselves up when I call episode storage.new, and then I look at the commands that have been run. The commands should be add truncate and add. So I'll test. Signals on failure. Cool, okay. It kind of amazingly worked. So we should have add truncate add, and we just got add, which is to be expected because I haven't done this yet. So we can say lift IO and we will call s.truncate. Why did I think it would call add twice? It's actually going to just call truncate then add. Oh. Why does that not work? If we did one at a time, that worked. Nope, there's something wrong with this. So truncate. Oh, I forgot to give it S. That's why. Okay, so lift IO, and then we'll give it truncate and then add. So my command should actually be truncate first and then add. I don't know why I thought we should call it twice. Oh, that's not where I ran it from. This is where I ran it from. Okay, it passed. Cool. So now, stop doing that. Now, if I go back to here and run it with episodes new, it tells me who the cast is. And if I look in episodes, there's one cast in there. I call it again. Have a look in episodes. It's only one cast. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I might add the next command, which is show. So run list episodes. Right. I'll put it after all the new stuff. Run list episodes is going to take no arguments, and it just runs under app. So run list episodes, and what's this going to do? So I need to load this, so we could say episode equals load s.load. We have a storage. We don't have a storage, so it's something like, do I call it storage or do I call it s? Let me have a look. See. How does that work? Storage is not new. Oh, here it's asking for storage. Okay, cool. So I can say episode is storage dot load, which doesn't exist yet, and then I can say list.io to.put strlen of episode.pretty. And give it the episode. Have I import episodes? I did not qualify it, so I can do that. Import episodes. Episode as episode. Okay. So I haven't written any of these things yet. I need to go and write them. Let's do pretty first, because that's easy to write. So pretty will take an episode and return some text. And episode is a new type. It has got get cast. So I could say cast.pretty of get cast. So adding the import doesn't really work very well, but we can say import qualified cast as cast. Okay, and we'll export this. So down here, pretty should now work. Storage load we need to write. So I hope the unmarshalling works. I can't remember if I wrote that or not last week. So load is going to take some storage. And app s episode. So we'll return an episode. And how does loading work in other things? First of all, we'll get the storage. then we should be able to say something like lift.io. This isn't quite safe. You should actually return maybe story, maybe episode, because there might not be anything in there. So then we should be able to say s.load s.episode s. Okay, and then this should give us back all the episodes. Episodes is from actually doing that, and then we can say case episodes of, and if we get an empty list, we return nothing. We return pure nothing. And if we get anything else, we would just return the head of the list. So that's pure just X. This will be a good test of my own marshalling. I don't even know I've written it yet. But in theory, we should be able to load all the episodes, because that's what load expects. If it didn't load anything, then we return nothing. Otherwise, we return the episode, the first episode that we load out of that file. So back down to here. Episode.pretty. Couldn't much expect to type episode with maybe episode. Okay. So I could say something like, I just need a name for it, but you can say that p equal from maybe, is that a thing? No episodes. Oh, no, we have a command we're going to run. So it's just maybe. No episodes. Episode.pretty. Episode. And then we can just print out P, whatever P comes back as. Okay, so we have an episode, we'll pretty print it. If we don't, we just use the fixed string no episodes. And no episode. Land. Okay, does it build? Yes, it did. Okay, so episode show. Yeah, not quite. So it doesn't load participants properly, but it does load the host. Guess that's something. If I truncate the file again and run it, it says no episode planned. Okay, that bit is good, but the unmarshalling of participants does not work. So how did I implement unmarshal? I did unmarshal episode. So that's marshalling, sorry. Unmarshalling gets maybe an episode. Okay, so we're given the text, which is the contents of the file, split into lines. We unmarshal the host, that makes sense. And then we unmarshal everything else as participants. So it knows the type of this because it gets returned here. So this is the, we call it unmarshal on this, giving back types of participant. And then we chuck away all of the nothings from there. Let's have a look at cast. Yeah, just cast. It should have an unmarshal in it. It does not. Here, okay. So it's looking for, no, it's okay. So participant is just it's just a line with nothing in it. So with no prefix, that's what I meant to say, not with nothing in it. If I create an episode, it starts it with the text participants. And it's comma separated. Okay. So I'm going to write another unmarshallable thing which matches that line, I think. Okay, let me just start this. So data. Episode participants is episode participants, and actually let's make some new type. Episode participants, and we have get participants, which is a list of participants. Okay, and then we can say instance storable, that's what I called it. Episode participants, where marshal is undefined, and unmarshal is undefined. Just give me the type signature, thank you. Okay, so we go from text to maybe episode participants. And I'm going to copy it from host. Kind of. Okay, give me some text. First of all, we're going to strip the prefix. So the prefix for this is the string participants. Participants. Is that right? Because the prefix here is host space, and the prefix in our file is participants : space. Okay, so that should give us back text. Kinda. That's right, yeah, because it's already split into lines. That's okay. So this should give us back maybe. Give me the type for strip. Oops, strip prefix. It is not. Let me fix the error. Okay. Give me a type. Yeah, so it's going back maybe text. So if it matches that, then we want to say participants mapped over that, where participants, so this is going to go from text to list of participants. I don't recall this, and I want some kind of splitting on comma, or is it comma space? What does it look like? It's comma space. So I'm hoping there's like a t dot split. Split on. I think that might be the one. T prime. Why is there a parse error? Oh, I can't do where. Oh, I can. It's an indent properly. Okay, what's this type error? Ah, this will take an episode participants. Good point. Participants. Is that right? No, hang on. So this does take text, but it returns an episode participants. Participants. Okay, so we split on comma space, and that should give us back a list of texts. So what we can then do is map episode, we can map cast up participant over that. And that's turned into a list of participants. Right. So we've got a list of cast up participant, and we can now put that into an episode participant wrapper. Okay, so we should be able to marshal stuff as episode participants. So when we're unmarshalling the episode here, rather than returning the participants directly, we'll get them back as episode participants, and then we can call get participants on that. Okay, I can't work out what I mean, which is fine. So this should be episode. Oh, first of all, it's not going to be map maybe because there's only one line matching that, so it should be first just. Okay. And this gives us back maybe a thing. Okay, So if there are no participants, because this is a list, we can actually say episode participants be that, and then let's participants, and then we can say maybe, and if we don't get anything, we'll just have an empty list. Otherwise we will call get participants on our episode participants. And it should work out that the only thing that has got this get participants is of type episode participants, so it should call the right on marshaller. That's my guess anyway. Does it compile? It did. Does it show? It does not work. Okay. Oh, sorry. When we print it out, it says participants, but that's not all of that for nothing. Okay, that's not how it stores it. But it could be. So when we add it, we just marshal this. We basically marshal the cast part of it, but we could write a marshaller in the episode itself, which could just call pretty. I'm not sure that's right. Actually, no. I'm going to get rid of all this episode participant stuff and then work out why the original thing didn't work. Map maybe, and then this is just called participants. It's kind of cool to write it. I'm just sorry I didn't need it now. Okay. How does a marshaller work for participants? I looked up a minute ago. So strip prefix, host prefix, and then for participants, it's without host prefix. So if it starts with host, then we ignore it, otherwise return it. And T's here should be all of the lines in that file. So why would that not work? Because this just says, given a line of text, is that right? Have we split into lines already? Let me find out where the marshaller is called. So in storage, no, in actual storage, which is file storage, when you call load, it calls load file, which is, it just calls unmarshal on the entire input. Okay, so then in cast storage, it just tries to load participants. So in episode storage, when we're loading it, we've got s.load. On S, which is episode storage. That's where I am. Okay, so we get underlying storage. We call load. And we expect that to unmarshal everything. So it then calls the unmarshaller in. It calls this thing. Which doesn't look like the unmarshaller in the cast. So the unmarshaller in the cast just says it doesn't split the lines, is where I'm going with this. So unmarshal, it goes text to maybe X. Oh, and the first just is taking a list of texts, applying unmarshal to each one, and find the first one that matches. That should be okay, actually. I'm really confused as to why it doesn't work then. So cast storage, when you call load, it just calls load. And load inside file storage called map maybe. So it reads it, it unmarshals it, but this doesn't return, oops, this doesn't return a list of lines. Yes, it does. Right, so we can call first just unmarshal in fact, this is going to give us, if we just call load, oh, this is confusing now. So okay, so the load was trying to go line by line. And that's not what we have. In episode storage, it assumes it's being called with all of the content in one go. So it gets called in the marshaller, sorry. This gets called with a single line, and that doesn't work for the way that we're marshalling. So we'd really need to marshal into a single line. So maybe we could just join them. Instead of calling it unlines, we could just, is it like an unwords? Okay. And here we can call words. Oh no, because host is problematic. So we need some kind of separator that's not a new line character and is not a word It's not space either, because that would clash with the way hosts are stored. So what have we got in T? Is it intersperse? Doesn't look like it. It's not intersperse. It's, oh, maybe it's not T. Maybe it's from list. Import data.list as L but qualified. So given some text and a list of text, it gives me back a new list of texts. So maybe it's not interspersed I want, maybe it's no, I think it isn't intersperse. Okay, it's going to give me back a list of sorry, it's going to give me a list of these text things separated by this, so I could probably just call title words on it. Okay, and we don't want words, but we want split on. Comma. Something like that. Does it build? It does. Okay. Let me truncate the file. Let me plan an episode. Let me cat the file. Let me get, no, okay, it's kind of right. Then we call show. It's getting close, but we now have these extra spaces in place. Also means names can never contain commas. It's not super safe escaping. Getting closer. Not that one. This one. So let's build it again. And let's create a new episode. And let's cat the file. And let's, whoops. Let's show the episodes. Okay, it works. I'm going to stop there because I'm running over time. I need to find a nicer way of separating or marshalling and unmarshalling episodes. So I might need some kind of multi-line unmarshaller or some better way of packing stuff onto a line. I could separate like null characters or something. But yeah, cool. Thanks for watching along. And hopefully see you next week when I'll have a look at replacing people in the current planned episode. See you next time.